Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the combined Local Chamber of Commerce City Council Candidate Forum. I'm Tam Hawkins, President and CEO of the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank my colleagues at my area chambers at the Asian, Hispanic, LGBT, and Greater Austin chambers for co-hosting these forums. Today, we will hear from candidates running in District 6, 7, and 10. You can learn more about the candidates by visiting keepaustinvoting.com. Today's session will be available for rewatch in 24 hours. This past Monday, we heard from the candidates running in Districts 2 and 4. Should you want to watch that session, please, once again, visit keepaustinvoting.com for the videos, their profiles, and their Q&As. I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator for today's candidates, Tamara Fields. She's the Office Managing Director for Accenture in Austin. She is responsible for bringing innovation to clients, recruiting and retaining top talent, and strengthening Accenture's impact in the community. Tamara is a business veteran with more than 2 decades of cross-industry, multilateral project management experience. An Austin native and a UT graduate, Tamara serves on the Red McCombs School of Business Advisory and is Accenture's former executive recruiting sponsor for UT. Tamara also serves on the Austin Chamber's Executive Committee as Vice Chair of State and Local Advocacy. Tamara, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much, Tam. I really appreciate that very much. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm really delighted to be able to be with you here today. We have a number of candidates to hear from, and that's really exciting. And I appreciate all of our candidates taking time to share with us. But first, let's review a couple of really important ground rules for today's forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks. And let me just say that again, 1 minute. I love you, candidates, but we will mute you, and I will gently and politely cut you off at 1 minute. And that's really important because we want to hear from everyone and have everyone to have an opportunity to speak. We'll do it in a round robin style. So we'll ask each candidate the same question. They will each have 1 minute to respond and possibly 30 seconds of a rebuttal if I deem it appropriate. And I will judge that based on how the responses are happening as for this forum. On the screen, the chamber will hold up a yellow card when you're at 30 seconds left and a red card when your time is up. So hopefully that will be pretty easy. And you can see Renata's doing that already. 30 seconds left and a red card when your time is up. At the conclusion of the questions, the candidates will have 1 minute for closing remarks. So you'll get an opportunity to introduce yourself and you're going to get an opportunity to close out, which is wonderful. Thank you for having the courage to run for a public office. I think it takes tremendous courage and something that me and myself as a citizen of Austin greatly appreciate. And so again, keep in mind that we have candidates in this event from multiple districts. So I know it's going to be a little bit to manage against that. I'm going to do my best to help you understand that this is the district candidates that we're reviewing the questions for at that time, and we'll do them collectively as a district. So hopefully you won't have to follow too hard with that. Again, we have District 6, 7, and 10 represented today. And let's get started. So question 1, candidates, is going to be, tell us your name, the district that you're running in, and what makes you different from your opponent, and why small businesses should support you. We are going to start today with District 6, and we're going to start with Jimmy Flanagan.
Thank you, Tamara. Happy to go first. My name is Jimmy Flanagan. I'm the current council member for District 6. I've lived in the district for over 20 years, or Northwest Austin for 20 years. Former president of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce, former small business owner myself. I'm also the first openly gay man to serve on the city council and the first Williamson County resident. In the last 4 years, I have led more than 60 different town halls, community meetings, and events in my district, listening and engaging on basically every topic facing the city, including with small businesses, attending multiple events the chamber has put on for the Northwest Business Council. I also lead on citywide issues of affordability, equity, and justice as chair of the Judicial, then Public Safety Committee, chairing the Regional Economic Development Board, chairing the Community Advancement Network, representing the city at a regional level at Campo and Capcog. During this pandemic, I have also led on specific initiatives to help small businesses, authoring the small business loan and grant programs, which have got got tens of millions of dollars into the city, and we're still not done. There's a lot more work yet to do.
Jimmy, thank you for getting us off to a good start by being on time and getting all that information in 1 minute. Mackenzie Kelly, you are next.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Mackenzie Kelly. I am running for Austin City Council in District 6, which is far northwest Austin. I'm running for Austin City Council because I was born and raised here, and I can't stand by any longer as our quality of life in the city is declining. I am compelled to serve. I have been waiting my entire life for this moment so that I could stand here and represent all of Austin, but also our district, which is often not represented very well by the city and in the choices that are being made here. I spent 8 years as a volunteer firefighter in the district at the Jollyville Fire Department. I'm the president of a nonprofit called Take Back Austin with 10,000 members in it, where I get to hear from different perspectives across the city. And I'm also a graduate of the Austin Police Department's 100th class of the Citizens Police Academy. I believe I bring a fresh, unique perspective to the city, and will do so if elected to the dais.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that very much. Our last candidate for today for District 6 is Jennifer Mushthaler.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody out there. I'm Dr. Jennifer Mushthaler. I'm a board-certified physician, obstetrician, gynecologist practicing at the North Austin Medical Center. This is my second time back in Austin. We've been home 13 years now. I was originally here for undergraduate, where I earned my Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering cum laude. Med school and training took me away, but I'm back. I have been a successful small business owner, owning and managing my own women's healthcare practice for 10 years. I provided benefits, retirement, and healthcare to all of my employees while they were under my tenure. I understand very much the extreme stress and worry that many people are facing during COVID, particularly our small business owners and independent contractors. I'm very worried about the future of Austin, both now during the COVID situation and in the recovery that's going to be happening for the next few years. I do not feel that our district has been adequately representative, and I'm seeking to bring a collaborative and respectful voice to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate that. So just remember, everyone, those were the candidates on the forum today for District 6. We're now going to move to District 7. Our first candidate for District 7 is going to be Leslie Poole.
Great, thanks so much. I'm Leslie Poole, and I'm the council member for District 7 in Central North Austin. I've lived in Austin for 40 years. It's an honor of a lifetime to be elected to the Austin City Council, where I have fought to improve the lives of all in this fast-growing city. You've asked the primary difference between my opponent and me, and that is my record of achievement, my actual demonstrated work in and commitment to Austin and Travis County in the many years that I've lived here. I think you're most interested in my record, so in 30 seconds, let's see what I can reel off. What I've done while on the council, the majority of my work circles around resilience for our community, environmental livability, sustainability, and equity, also transportation, better transit options and safer streets, open government and accountability, because that's where public engagement starts, and ethics, campaign, finance, and lobbyist reform, very challenging areas to lead in. They also increase community trust in government. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. We have our next candidate, Morgan Witt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Witt. I'm running for Austin City Council in District 7. And I'm running because, we're approaching the point of no return with some of the long-standing issues that Austin has faced. I live here, I grew up here, and I know firsthand the struggles faced by so many who live here, including myself, just to make a living. I'm part of the tech community. I've worked at a small business. I'm an educator. I'm a commuter. I'm an avid live music fan. And I know that even though I can't rent in or buy a home in my district, there are a lot of people affected much worse than me. We've seen a lot of incremental change and platitudes from leadership over the last decades, but incremental change is not going to fix the problems that we have now. So I'm different because I'm ready to take a bold stand, advocate for all communities, including small businesses who are falling and closing right and left during this pandemic, and actually make real, sustainable, equitable change for everybody.
Thank you, District 7. We are now going to move to District 10. We have several candidates in District 10, and we're going to get started with Allison Alter.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Alter, and since 2017, I've been honored to represent District 10, Central Northwest Austin at City Hall. In 2020, we faced multiple crises: a pandemic, high unemployment, systemic racism, and climate change. I'm running for re-election because this is a time for leadership and proven experience. I'm a mom, a small business owner, educator, and community advocate. I have over 20 years of experience and have advocated for the environment, schools, and the economy. I'm a trained economist with a PhD from Harvard and a BA from Stanford. Since first elected in 2016, I've asked the tough questions, done my homework, and focused on long-term solutions. I have 4 years of experience on council. I'm particularly proud of my record working to make Austin a place where all can thrive and feel safe. With respect to small business, I have designated tens of millions of dollars for grants to small businesses, nonprofits, childcare centers, and the creative sector. I've advocated for improvements to the city's SMBR programs, worked closely with city staff on expanding digital access and broadband, advanced workforce development, succeeded with permitting staff and ombudsman positions, led the city's delegation to Pune, India, and supported changes to our 380 agreements.
Thank you very much, Allison. We're going to go next to Belinda Green. Belinda, are you ready? I think Belinda was just there. That's okay. We're going to keep moving, and I'm sure Belinda will be back on. I think she just might have had a technical difficulty. Pooja Sethi, we're going to go to you next, please. And don't forget to unmute there. We'll start your time now.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me here. It's an honor. My name is Pooja Sethi, and I'm running for Austin City Council because now more than ever, every voice needs to be heard in our local government, from transportation to housing to protecting our local businesses. I know the importance and have a demonstrated history of building bridges across our city. I'm an attorney, a small business owner, a mom, and a nonprofit founder for women, and I'm ready to serve. I know what it means to have people depend on you, to have to meet payroll, and to juggle work and children's schoolwork. I also know what it means to fight for others because it's what I've done every day for years. I've been actively involved in our local government through boards and commissions since 2016 and understand how city policies affect our lives every day. I fought for transportation for seniors, fought for better data when giving grants to our local businesses while being a commissioner, and I've been advocating for small businesses for years. I've been a member of the policy committee of the Greater Austin Asian Chamber of Commerce, where we've advocated for policies around job creation, transportation, and affordability. I know and have a demonstrated history of how to balance my point of view with the needs of the residents of the district and the needs of the district as a whole.
Thank you.
I want District 10 to be—
Thank you, Pooja, very much. Sorry, you just hit that minute point. As we move forward to our next candidate, Robert Thomas.
Hi guys, it's Robert Thomas. Thank you so much for hosting us this afternoon, and what an honor. I am running for City Council District 10. I have been a small business owner. I have worked in the community. I have employed literally hundreds of Austinites. I know what it means to make payroll. I know what it means to suffer through economic crisis. I understand what it means to have local government increase the cost of doing business, including at the time that they're telling you that they're making it less, more affordable for you. I understand literally what it means to be able to employ people. The bottom line is, as a community leader, having worked with AISD committees, ACC committees, worked on nonprofits across the city, as well as having been a commissioner of the Workforce Commission, a board member of the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and then having also been the chairman of the Texas Facilities Commission. I've worked on billions of dollars of budget in government settings and know how to bring solutions to the table. At the end of the day, if we're not better off than we are today, we were 4 years ago, then we need to do something different. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. As we get started with our first set of questions, I'm going to start with District 7, then I'm going to move to District 6, and then District 10, you'll bring us back in at the end. So again, District 7. Now, the questions are going to be the same for all of you. And so don't be afraid to ask me to refresh the question for you, just because it's you might be waiting a little bit. And we'll also try and post it in the chat window for you so you can have it for reference. We're going to start our first question on housing. The Land Development Code has not been updated since the 80s. Austin needs more affordable housing, more retail, business, and creative space inventory. Tell us where you stand on the rewrite of the Land Development Code, on the transit-oriented density, and how will these positions impact small businesses' success in Austin? And will you support an affordability plan to include the utilization of land banks? And again, we've posted the question in the chat window because we recognize that was really multiple questions embedded into one, but I think that you'll get the gist. So we're going to start with District 7, and we're going to start with Morgan Witt.
Sorry there, had to drink some water. Yeah, so I think in thinking about real systemic change for Austin, we need to realize that transit and affordable housing have to go together, and business has to go into that too. So I'm definitely in favor of rewriting the land use code to ease many of the zoning restrictions that are in place now to promote more organic development of our neighborhoods, and also to connect people to more parts of the city. And land banks are going to be a really important part of that. I do support them. Because, you know, they go into making sure we have the land that's going to connect our transit infrastructure to affordable housing and making sure that businesses are able to exist in the neighborhoods where people need them. I don't see it as a silver bullet, however, and think that it needs to be part of a multi-pronged approach to creating more affordable housing options in Austin.
Thank you very much. Now remember, we're on District 7, and our second candidate for today is Leslie Poole.
Thanks so much. Well, we've known in Austin that transit with housing nearby is the right way to plan and grow. We've known that for a really long time. So it's not a new concept. With regard to the Land Development Code, I agree with most in Austin that the LDC should be updated. I support doing it in alignment with Imagine Austin, which is the comprehensive plan. I support density and mixed use along corridors to provide more foot traffic, small business opportunity, overall increased commerce, and so forth. Transition areas were exceedingly problematic. I did not support how the staff was imposing them without residents' agreement. The adoption process was also being done in violation of Texas statutes, despite clear evidence and rhetoric pointing this out to city staff. Any amendments to the LDC have to have the support of the community. I do support land banks. I'm working on transit-oriented development right now in District 7. So yes on those. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're going to move now to District 6, and we're going to get started with Jennifer Mushthaler.
Thank you very much. I concur. The land code is burdensome and it needs a rewrite. But given the stalemate and the status of litigation, I think it would make more sense for us to be working with neighborhoods and businesses to make the adjustments that we need to modernize and make our land code more efficient. I've been talking with a lot of neighborhoods across Austin, and it's not just District 6 concerns. The concerns are universal across the city on how we're going to bring in variety of housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing. But homes and neighborhoods mean a lot. People put their whole pride, work, and a lot of times their entire equity is wrapped up in their home and their home value. So they need to have a seat at the table on this, and they can be proactive in bringing these solutions forward. I do support TODs, and I also support the use of land banks in moving this process forward. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. We're going to jump now to Jimmy Flanagan.
Thank you. I have been a leading voice on land code reform, and while I didn't like every compromise that was being made leading to that end, it is still unfortunate that it did not proceed. We are dealing with a code written back in the last time there was a recession, and you have 30, 40 years of growth, and you just have a system that's not built to handle it. That's why now we get the growth that we don't like. It's why we need a code to be rewritten. The goal was to build all types of housing in all parts of the city for all types of people at all income levels. We need low-income housing, we need affordable housing, we need income-restricted housing, we need workforce housing, we need middle-class housing, we need everything because we are a successful city that continues to grow. And like the housing market, the business rental market is also victims to those same economies of supply and demand. I absolutely support TODs and land banks, but we have to go farther for affordability, addressing the permitting process and this rezoning process and all of these things that add so many hidden costs to building new housing.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jimmy. We're going to now move to Mackenzie Kelly.
Thank you. I was struck by a citizen's comment when the Planning Commission met on the latest rendition of the Land Development Code. And I'm paraphrasing, but she said, everything you want to do here is for the new people that want to move here. Those of us who live here seem to be unimportant. And I believe that the people who live here and own businesses here are also important. I would put their interests first. I agree that the Land Development Code needs to be changed, but it needs to change in a way that promotes quality of life. Neighborhoods are important, families are important, and so is their success in being able to work near where they live. I don't think that driving families out of Austin is good for our community. Single family home ownership is always important because for working people, property ownership is typically the only pathway for wealth, especially generationally. The proposed code favors high density above all other concepts, which I might be okay with, but not in its current form. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, District 6. We are going to move to District 10, and we're going to get started with Robert Thomas.
Thank you so much. I just keep seeing two Jimmys flashing up. Hey, I got a Jimmy in the top and a Jimmy in the bottom. Guys, I don't think anybody on this Zoom call is going to say that they've got an issue with the problems, or that they, in fact, do have an issue with the problems with the Land Development Code that we have. It is a mess and has been a mess for a long time. The problem is what was ran through City Council through 2 votes before Judge Seufer found their actions unconstitutional is that it destroys the concept of Imagine Austin. That's the fundamental problem. After having been the vice president of the Northwest Austin Civic Association and working with neighborhoods across the city on these kinds of issues, I was shocked to find out that this City Council, or at least a majority of them, were willing to put the kind of density in neighborhoods that couldn't support them. We need to change our land development code, but we need to go back and look at it so that it's more closely aligned with Imagine Austin. I absolutely believe if we look at the original Imagine Austin plan, you see that the TODs were intended to make it reasonable and supportive for the communities. Let's go back to what makes sense, common sense.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that very much. Allison Alter.
Thank you. So I believe we need to update our land development code, and to do so, we need to move beyond a density at all costs approach and NIMBY responses to arrive at a way forward, which I've been calling for a long time, common sense. This does include transit-oriented developments and land banking. I support increasing development along our Imagine Austin transit corridors in our activity centers and TODs, facilitating the construction of ADUs and allowing ADUs and duplexes in residential areas, allowing residential use in commercial zones. I do not support indiscriminately upzoning the interior of neighborhoods, which is why I voted against the drafts of the Land Development Code. I believe the most important component of our code should be that it allows everyday Austinites to remodel their homes and businesses with a permitting process that is clear and easy to navigate. That means our code must be simple and clear enough to navigate without hiring a lobbyist, and the permitting department should have consistent and fair interpretation. I'm committed to achieving that.
Thank you, Allison. Belinda, I did see you were able to resolve your technical issues and draw back to us. I'm going to move to Pooja next. And then when I do that, just since everybody else had a minute to introduce themselves, we're going to give you that same opportunity to introduce yourself. And then if you take a look at the chat, you can see the first question that we're answering related to housing. So we'll give you a minute for each of those so that we are all in alignment with each other. Pooja, we're going to circle back to you. Remember, everyone, we are right now on District 10. Pooja.
Yes, we do badly need an updated land development code. My vision for Austin is one that is more accessible and affordable. I believe in transit-oriented density. I also believe that any LDC that we have needs to prioritize this. We need to create more compact mixed-use communities where people have access to their jobs, small businesses, arts venues, and homes. I would also support an affordability plan with the utilization of land banks and working with local developers on building up our affordable housing. We need more multifamily and mixed-use housing with access to transportation to support our low and middle income households. And we need to move toward providing resources equitably across the city and make changes to our LDC that makes our city more affordable and accessible. And as we reimagine transportation, we need to increase housing with the transportation in mind. And our housing plan should help reduce mobility barriers and give people more accesses to our city resources, as well as more access to schools, healthcare, and local business. And I would support any LDC and transportation plan that provides this.
Thank you, Pooja. So just to remind everyone that we're on District 10, we have a new candidate, Belinda Green. She's going to get 1 minute to introduce herself. And then Belinda, once you finish that, then we will transition into the question that we're on housing, and we'd want to hear your response related to that. So we're going to start the timer now for your 1 minute introduction.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm Belinda Green in District 10. I'm a Texan, been in Austin for about 14 years and in District 10 for 12. And we absolutely love it here. My family's here. We attend the local elementary school. And the reason I'm running is because I feel underrepresented by our current city council. And I also feel that most Austinites do not identify with the extremes. And our city council currently is pretty extreme. I want to represent everyone in our community, both sides. I think that's one thing that makes me different from some of the other candidates, is that I do represent both sides. I don't fully identify with either of our two parties, our two-party system. Consider myself a moderate mama. I listen to both sides. I listen to both sides in my community, my neighbors, my friends, and I take into consideration both sides and their points of view. And when we share values and have things in common, we can work towards a common goal.
Thank you, Belinda. Did you get an opportunity in the chat window to see the question? If not, I'm just going to repeat it for you. We have our first question on housing, and the Land Development Code has not been updated since the 80s. Austin needs more affordable housing, more retail, businesses, and creative space inventory. Tell us where you stand on the rewrite of the Land Development Code, on the transit-oriented density, and how will those positions impact small business success in Austin? And will you support an affordability plan to include the utilization of land banks?
So I have talked to some real estate friends and done research on my own on the LDC. It's quite the beast. There's a lot of information on it. I think there are some aspects to the current plan that are workable, but I don't think we need a one-size-fits-all blanket development plan for the city of Austin. It's a very unique community, and we should keep it that way. There should be there is some room for some density where property owners allow it. I think we should preserve property owner rights. As far as small business and transportation, those are other things we all have to consider. They all have to work together. And to keep Austin affordable on all those layers, it all comes back to the taxes as well. We have to be able to afford to stay in our homes for the price we pay and not have to worry about the increase of taxes in Austin.
Thank you, everybody. We are going to move on to our next question. Again, we will post this question in the chat window. So I wanted to jump down into this pandemic, and all of us have been impacted by the pandemic, right? Whether you're small, big, large business, as individuals. So this is really important. This pandemic has hit small businesses and the employees so very hard. What will you do to support job creation? And a sub question to that is, will you support the City of Austin's unanimously approved economic development policy, commonly referred to as Chapter 380 agreements, as a way to attract jobs to our region? We're going to get started with District 6, and we're going to start with Mackenzie Kelly.
Thank you. Did you want me to answer both questions at once?
Yes, please.
Perfect. So I would provide meaningful support to businesses that are affected by COVID. While I think that addressing the public health issues in order to protect livelihoods is admirable, it's important to put money back into the businesses that help shape Austin while people were unemployed. This includes providing support to restaurants, bars, live music venues. It's been super disheartening for me while I've been out speaking to these business owners to find out they're not getting the type of help from the city or the support that they need financially. There are small business owners who are confused and just don't know or understand the process to help try and get that stuff started, like the funding. It's frustrating. Ensuring the support of educational programs to help businesses navigate that process would be something I would support. And for the follow-up question, I believe anything that attracts jobs to our region is good for the community. In Austin as a whole, it's hard for the average Austinite to survive on minimum wage jobs. We need to support small and minority-owned businesses. By supporting low and middle income jobs and job creation programs, we'll be able to help lift people into a better sense of being able to afford to live here. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mackenzie. We're going to move forward to Jimmy Flanagan.
Thank you, Tamara. Well, I have been leading on this issue right now. I authored the Small Business Grant Support Program, and in partnership with Councilmember Alter, included childcare support, which really is important for the employees that work in those businesses, and even nonprofits, which are a business of themselves in this community. We don't have enough money to help as many businesses as we want. And I know that having affordability is also about fiscal responsibility with our taxes. We've been able to allocate federal dollars to help as many businesses as we can, but there's probably 2 to 3 times more that have applied than have received, because there's just a resource constraint. Cities are not built to solve a pandemic. We need at least a minimally functional state and federal government to make this work. And I have also been a champion of the 380 economic development policies, although it should be noted, the council and during my tenure has only done one of them with Merck, and they ended up not coming for reasons internal to their own business. The 380 policy is important because it allows us to create jobs that are consistent with our community's values.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jennifer Mushtaller.
Thank you. I am on the front lines in the pandemic. I have been since everybody else went to shelter in. And I've been working with the people who have also been on the front lines as patients and colleagues. And it has hit hard. In order to support our economy, we need to deal with the pandemic. The sooner we do that in a reasonable and pragmatic fashion, the sooner we can get children safely to school where they need to be to learn, the sooner we can get everyone back to work, and the sooner we can begin to recover our economy. I do support the Chapter 380. I believe that that agreement allows us to bring jobs for families, returns for taxpayers, and accountability for corporations while being good stewards to our community. I'm a little surprised at the incumbent's answer, since the other day in council, he was saying that he didn't want to support these small businesses because many of them were struggling prior to the pandemic.
I'm going to allow for a rebuttal for this particular response. Again, right now we are on District 6. You will have 30 seconds for the rebuttal, Jimmy.
Thank you, Tamara. That is just completely incorrect. I was a co-sponsor to the item that the council passed in order to identify more funds to help the most struggling categories of businesses, our live music venues, our restaurants, our childcare providers. I've been laser focused on solving that issue and helping our businesses come and survive and build back our community better. And just today, in fact, I spoke to the chief medical officer of Baylor Scott & White, who only had praise and positive things to say about what the community is doing and how the city has stepped up during this pandemic. And so, I think it's important to talk to the experts who are actually doing the work. And I am one of those people who have been focused on solving small business issues.
I appreciate that very much. All right, that will close out District 6. We are now going to move to District 10, and we're going to get started with Robert Thomas.
Thank you so much. The easy answer is the support of Chapter 380 agreements, absolutely. I am getting my PhD, so I think everybody knows I've got my law degree in my MBA from the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm getting my PhD in healthcare management and policy. I literally study public health. This is a public health crisis that has evolved into an economic crisis. It is fundamentally restructuring our society as we speak. The bottom line is, instead of being partisan and fighting with the state, we should have been working with partnering with Health and Human Services Commission. We should have been working with and reaching out to the federal government to secure more funds to Austin. I do agree and support the efforts that council have made to try to support our small businesses. That is exactly right. There's just not enough dollars. So we need to also look at tax breaks and incentives to support small businesses being able to modify their locations to be able to serve more customers with safe social distancing and do other things like that that allow them to try to survive. Right now, the number of unemployed people, including business owners who are literally on the verge of dying, are still exploding. We've got to do better.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. I'm going to move forward next to Allison Alter. And again, we're on District 10.
Thank you. So for the 380 policy, I was proud to vote for it. I'm really was impressed with the process that we went through as a city to really deeply engage the business community in creating this program so that we could help our local businesses in addition to the work that we've done to expand our business. This program increases the tools that we have available and allows us to really hone in on how to support our local businesses and help them to expand. Like Jimmy, I was intimately involved in providing financial relief to our small businesses, our nonprofits, and our childcare. We needed to first focus on economic stabilization, and we have done that. And now we are shifting to economic recovery for our focus. One of the things that we need to do is get the pandemic fully under control. That's the single most important thing we can do to help our businesses thrive so that we can move forward. And I think we've been laser focused on doing that. I think it's really, really important that when we talk about our small businesses, that we understand that without our small businesses, there are no jobs for people who are out of work to go back to. And this is such a critical ecosystem that we need to cultivate.
Thank you, Allison. Pooja Sethi.
Sure. One of my priorities for my run for city council is to make sure that Austin is prosperous through sound and fiscal development policy. I'm a small business owner and know the importance of supporting not just economic growth, but also the small and large businesses that drive growth. This will be maintaining fiscal discipline for general spending and supporting policies that drive long-term economic growth like Project Connect and the Land Development Code and Public Safety that encourages our business owners post-COVID and increases jobs in Austin. I would also, I would continue the Chapter 380 agreements, but I would also seek input from the combined chambers and other business groups to understand how the principles and policies might need to be updated to reflect a post-COVID environment. We also need to utilize the programs to focus on small businesses, ensure companies are hiring for the number of jobs that they commit to, and are giving back to our local families and communities. I would also push for more transparent data on the program and the businesses that receive the incentives through the Chapter 380 agreements. And I would also push for better data on
I appreciate it, Pooja. You're at time.
Thank you
so much. We have our last candidate for District 10, Belinda Green.
Hi, so I am in restaurant sales and I have been doing that for 12 years in Austin, supporting local restaurants, hotels, etc. I talk to the restaurateurs, to the leadership daily, firsthand. They tell me overwhelmingly that they do not feel city council or the mayor have done anything to help support their businesses. We create jobs through businesses. Businesses create jobs. The government does not create jobs. We should be doing whatever we can to encourage opening safely of these small businesses so they can employ their staff, so they can thrive. The 380 agreement, that one, I questioned the success of it. Since it was implemented, there were 22 businesses that signed up for the agreement, but there are currently only 6 that are still active. So I question whether the way it stands now really works and really does encourage business growth and development in this city.
Thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it very much. We're going to shift a little bit on the questions, and I'm going to move us down and shift to taxes. Taxes is always a very important topic. And so I'm sure all of y'all are getting ready right now to address this question. But let's switch to Texas. Oh, actually, please forgive me. Did we have District 7 on that question? We did not. So before we switch to taxes, everyone, we've got to go back to District 7 and give them an opportunity to address job creation. And we will start with Leslie Poole.
There we go. I support the 380 agreements, in particular, the changes that we made last year to focus on local small businesses. With the pandemic devastating our iconic restaurants and music venues and the shops, it's more important than ever to focus here. And with my colleagues on the council, I co-sponsored a spending framework for the CARES relief package, additional programs with funding specific to the recovery of Austin's entrepreneurs and the creative community, and SAVES, the resolution, which was item 62 just last night, that I sponsored at the council meeting, that targets music venues, restaurants, and childcare providers. Music and food are a big part of why we love living here and why people want to visit here and move here. I created the Shop the Block initiative to boost, and I'm losing can you stop the time? I need to get the person back where I can see her timing me. Where'd she go?
No worries.
You have 10 seconds left on that one. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Well, without seeing my time up or the 30 seconds, let me just talk really fast. Shop the Block initiative, that was to boost the recovery efforts and let our small shops, restaurants, and bars expand their operations outside to the curbs, parking spots, and the sidewalks to serve customers more safely. And that program is doing great.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for
Did I fit it in? Okay.
No, you did good. And thank you for being flexible there. Just for all of the individuals right now, just for a brief time, the person who is showing your timing is Tina. So if you need to adjust your Zoom picture frame so that you can see Tina, please do so. Renata needed to step away for just a moment. Morgan, we're going to move to you. Remember, we're on District 7 and we're still on the question around job creation and Chapter 380 agreements. Morgan?
Yeah, so the live music scene in Austin is one that I'm very passionate about and involved in, and in tune to in talking about these things. At the Come and Save It rally in front of City Hall earlier this week, what I heard people saying was, we've been asking for help for years, and now it's gotten worse. And we are not going to be around by the end of the year. We need help now. And as I was thinking about what can we do about this, what cities can I look at? I realized that Austin should already be the gold standard in serving their music and creative industries, and yet we're not. So immediately, we need to direct money from hotels toward our small businesses, including our music and creative venues. We need to also ensure that that money is administered by a qualified grant administrator so that that money actually shows up to the venues who need it and it's equitably distributed. But in the long term, we need to be thinking about how did we get here in the first place? Economic recessions are not new. We had one just 10 years ago, and these venues were already at risk.
Thank you, Morgan. I appreciate that. You did great. Thanks, everybody, for being flexible. You know, when we're managing so many different people on Zoom, we have to be flexible. And I want to say thanks to everyone. You're doing a great job being accountable on time. Now, we really are going to switch to taxes now. So hopefully you've had a few more minutes to get your head wrapped around taxes. Again, the question will be listed in your chat window because we recognize some of these questions are a little long. But the state of Texas limited the percent that a locale can raise taxes over prior year from 8% down to 3.5%. So let's just state it again, right? The state of Texas limited the percent that a locale can raise taxes over a prior year from 8% down to 3.5%. If a city wants to go above 3.5%, they must have a ballot item for a tax rate election over the 3.5% ceiling. Would you advocate to raise taxes above the state limit of 3.5% over prior years, or hold the line on 3.5%? We're going to get started with District 10, and I'm going to start with Allison Alter.
Thank you. So this was the first year such a choice was before the council, and I successfully advocated to keep our budget within the state limit of 3.5% over prior years. And that's where I expect for the city portion for us to say, I don't foresee putting tax rate elections regularly before our voters to fund and or extend regular city services. I do want to be clear that I voted to put Project Connect on the ballot, and in practice, that does equate to placing a tax rate election before the voters for a decision. But I don't expect to be doing that on a regular basis for regular city services.
Thank you, Allison. I'm going to jump to Pooja Sethi.
Yeah, hi. So to protect our families and businesses and maintain affordability, taxes, I would hold the line and keep taxes at a 3.5% cap, except for specific investments necessary for our Austin's long-term economic growth. So in this as well, in the case of Project Connect, that might raise taxes above the cap. Voters have a voice on that, and the council should do everything in its power to eliminate wasteful spending and avoid increasing taxes more than absolutely necessary. I would also look to limit and conserve our spending and as much as possible if on council. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to jump now to Belinda Green.
So I would not support the idea of increasing our taxes over the 3.5%. I think taxes are one of the reasons Austin is becoming less affordable for businesses, for homeowners, for everyone. Everyone pays increased taxes. I think is what we should do as a community and as a city is really look into how we are spending our government dollars already. Transparency is key. We should have an outside audit. We should have had one. That way we know that the dollars coming in are being used or being stretched as far as they can, being used for what their intended purposes are, and to see how much waste we can cut down on. So instead of increasing what we are paying as a community, let's see what we already have and make sure we're spending it wisely, just like we are at home right now during these tough times. We're all spending less and watching every dollar. This city should be doing the same.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Robert Thomas.
As a small businessman, I find it shocking that current council members would suggest that they are proud that they were able to hold a budget increase to 3.5%. Under no scenario would I advocate sending a budget to a 3.5%, above a 3.5% increase to the voters, because I would keep it below that. If regular families and small businesses have to live within a budget and are not able to willy-nilly increase their spending to go to deficit spending equivalent to that, then the city should be held to that too. In just 1 year, there's been a threefold increase in Austinites who cannot afford and who are behind on their mortgage payments. It is unconscionable that the city would think that it would be appropriate to continue to increase the budget at the same time that property valuations are increasing, at the same time that people are literally unemployed or on the verge of unemployment.
Thank you, Robert, and specifically thank you to District 10. I'm going to jump now to District 7. Excellent. Morgan, we're going to kick off with you first.
So I am in support of voters having the ability to vote on whether they want to increase a tax limit over the 3.5% limit. But I want to say that that comes with a caveat as whether I support increasing it over the 3.5% limit at all. And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier in saying that affordability, transit, and overall well-being in Austin are all connected. If we don't address our housing shortage, the people who own property are going to continue to bear this undue burden of property tax. And we're going to keep having this conversation about, can we fund these services and can we have these amenities? But it's not an either or issue, right? We can increase a tax revenue base that will distribute burden. And we can also be more fiscally responsible and reprioritize the way that we're spending the money that the city already has.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks. Well, the council approved the maximum tax rate for fiscal year 21, the general fund at 3.5%, which was the new state cap. I didn't think we'd be able to do that a year ago when the state legislature slashed the cap on new revenue down from 8%. You may remember that the session before they were talking about cutting it from 8% down to 6%. That didn't pass, but it did pass down at 3.5% last year. That was a huge accomplishment for the city manager, but with so much else going on, we really didn't have time to recognize and affirm that achievement. The council also unanimously approved setting the tax rate election for November for Project Connect. That TRE vote adds 8.75 cents to the 44.6 cent tax. That's the ongoing revenue stream to fund Project Connect operations and maintenance well into the future. And then the GO bonds that we voted to put on the ballot adds another 2 pennies. That's Prop B. The voters of Austin will have the final say on both referenda on November 3rd, and I think that's appropriate.
Thank you very much.
And I voted for all of those items. Sorry.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much, District 7. We are now going to move to District 6. And we're going to start with Jimmy Flanagan.
This is a really important question that requires a very specific answer. Now, I have been the loudest and most passionate voice for fiscal responsibility on this council. I voted against city budgets, 2 of the 4 that I've been a part of, when I didn't feel that they were responding to the most pragmatic way to move forward our city government. I voted for this last budget and one before when we kept the tax rate increase down to the lowest part that we had, certainly this last one in over 15 years. The reality is, if you want to cut taxes, you have to explain what you want to cut. Police, fire, EMS, and the municipal.
Oh no, did we lose Jimmy there?
My Zoom keeps crashing. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. We will give you some seconds back for you to finish there. We lost you right about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah,
all right,
so
well,
you have about 20 seconds left.
Like I said, police, fire, and EMS are the largest parts of the budget. And if you want to find a significant tax break, you got to tell me how you're going to do it. That's what I've been doing as chair of the Public Safety Committee, which is the most fiscally responsible reform movement in municipal history. And I believe the chamber even endorsed Project Connect. And when we have a substantial investment, businesses know sometimes you make the investment, and that's why I'm putting it to the voters.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Kelly McKenzie.
Hey, Tamara, my name is Mackenzie Kelly. I just wanted to clarify that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. My mind just flipped you for a second there. Thank you, Mackenzie.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. I just want to say that I absolutely do not support raising taxes over the limit. It's important as a council member to be a good steward of taxpayer money, and raising taxes doesn't support being a good steward for taxpayers. The last thing that our council needs to do is increase the current taxes above the 3.5% limit. We can't continue to raise taxes to a point where Austinites are priced out. Our economy needs to be prepared before council continues to overtax us. For many of our struggling families, it would be an awful slap in the face to raise our tax rate. We cannot afford it due to the recession. I want to also add that I am against Project Connect. Project Connect is a huge tax burden in a time where there are many unemployed Austinites. Putting a massive property tax increase on the ballot in the middle of a pandemic, recession, and unemployment rate that currently exceeds 7.2% shows a lack of understanding and consideration for Austin residents and businesses that have been crushed by the pandemic. We need to hold the line on taxes and give Austinites a break. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Thank you. As the current president of the limited district, this is a governmental body and taxing authority. So we are operating under Senate Bill 2. And so I'm fully aware and experienced with the tax cap, and we're doing that effectively. I do not support raising taxes. I think that goes counter to our goal of creating affordable housing. I think that we need to prioritize the role of government. And I believe, one, that starts with our critical infrastructure for public health, public safety, and public security. I believe we need to look for opportunities to eliminate waste in the budget, to demand transparency, and to utilize citizen input to decide where in the budget we're going to prioritize other items that fall outside of the critical infrastructure that we need to have as a city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move toward question 8. Question 8, everyone, and we're going to move toward a topic that is, been a sensitive topic in our city, homelessness. So question is, homelessness is top of mind for our community. Please tell us how you will take on the challenge we face as a community to house and lift up the homeless in our city. I'm going to start with District 10 on this question, and I'm going to start with Belinda Green. And Belinda, we're going to restart your, make sure you unmute, and then we're going to restart your time. There we go. Here you go.
So I think we should start by reinstating the camping ban. I think we should also identify our current homeless population and start with identifying the women and the minors. Let's get them in a safe spot. Then let's identify the veterans, get them in a safe spot, perhaps one of these hotels that we have. But we should have accountability within these safe zones, and it should be temporary. We get them on their feet, provide mental health if they need it, provide an address for support that is already there for them, such as the veterans. They already have support groups available. If they have an address, they can get the help they need. We should also provide some job training for a short period of time. We should look towards things like the Mobile Loaves and Fishes Connect plan, that provides a community where they have accountability for where they live and they can be proud of where they live to move on.
Thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it. Robert, we're going to go to you next.
Great. Having a hard time figuring out what order we're going in and how. So thank you. The bottom line is we can be compassionate without abusing our homeless population or the citizens. The reality is Allison Alter voted to remove the camping ban, or sorry, she voted to keep the camping ban, but she was advocating that the camping ban only stay in place around UT and down South Congress and over near the police station. She did not advocate, and that's on the record, she did not advocate to make sure that District 10 or other parts of the city didn't have the camping ban was stayed in place for them. The other issue that's really critical is recognizing that in October of this year, so in 1 month, we will have 1 year since the city council raised and removed the camping ban. The level of critical public health crisis that has occurred, the health crisis, the public safety crisis that has occurred because of that is ridiculous. This camping ban needs to be reinstated. All 3 prongs of the homeless ordinances need to be reinstated. And we need to immediately look at long-term solutions that other cities like San Diego, San Antonio have done to help all of our homeless population.
Thank you, Robert. And I do remind everyone, this is random, and we do it random on purpose so that no one gets an advantage in the process of in terms of prep and readiness. So Pooja, I'm going to call on you next to answer this question.
Thank you. I believe that we need to be very aggressive about developing long-term solutions to house people experiencing homelessness. In our last on the City of Austin website, we only have 2,000 beds. And at the last pit count, we've had more homeless people than that. And we can't take shortcuts. We need long-term solutions. We need better data of our unhoused communities and people on the brink of homelessness. We need more resources into a rapid rehousing plan, an eviction diversion plan, which includes financial education, classes for the community. Third, if I was on council, we need to partner with local organizations like the Other Ones Foundation and Camp Esperanza to get more resources, specifically mental health resources and job training more directly into our unhoused populations. And finally, we need more affordable housing. We have aggressive goals to add more affordable housing units in Austin. And if I were on council, I would be absolutely vigilant about adding more housing into our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Allison?
So in 2019, I voted against the repeal to the camping ban because I didn't think the city had a plan for what came next, and I believe I was right. Since the council majority voted on that, I've been focused on 3 things: managing the safety and sanitation of our public safe spaces, increasing investments in immediate needs for permanent supportive housing and other services, and reforming our contracting processes. For too long, we were thinking about this as how much we spent as our measure, and those days are over. Now we're looking at how many individuals are stabilized, housed, and remained housed. In my second term, I will continue to focus on metrics and strategy. We have already focused in on veterans and youth. And if I might, I'd like to rebut a bit of Mr. Thomas's remarks now that I've shared my basic comments. So his comments about my role in the fall of 2019 are inaccurate and represent a fundamental misunderstanding of city policy. As I mentioned, we had a 9-2 vote in June of 2019. Along with Councilmember Tovo, I voted against the ban. When we subsequently revisited the policy, there was not even 4 votes that would repeal the ban. So I worked with my colleagues to try to find a solution moving forward that would mitigate the consequences. That's what I did, and I worked to try. I was also able to prohibit camping in high wildfire risk areas, and I voted against what ultimately came out because it didn't meet my standards. We
Thank you,
shouldn't be
Allison.
demonizing this
Thank
issue.
you, Allison.
I'm going to request a
yes,
moment to rebut.
yes, Robert, I will provide you a 30-second rebuttal. We're going to follow the process, everybody. Thank you, Allison, for your summary. Robert, we're going to allow you for a 30-second only rebuttal.
Thank you. Allison Alter fundamentally misstates the truth. The reality is all of this was so highly publicized that it was all available under both at the city's website to go and review her votes and her arguments, as well as in the news. It's been in the news recently that all of these places that that she says she was concerned about are still having huge camping problems, and the recent rains have flushed all of the diatribe, trash, feces, etc., into our waterways. The reality is Allison Alter supported Kathy Tovo's motion to try to limit camping downtown, but nowhere else.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it very much. All right, so we can see that this is one of those topic areas that does gain a lot of conversation. As we move past District 10, we're going to move to District 6. Again, on this same question, we will start with Mackenzie Kelly.
Thank you. Like many Austinites, I was immediately discouraged and upset about the homeless situation in Austin. When the camping ban was repealed by the council, the problem was put right in front of everyone. Repealing the camping ban should have been decided by voters. It immediately affects their lives every day. I've organized a cleanup of an abandoned homeless camp in Austin, and the living conditions were atrocious. No one should have to live like that at all. I witnessed things that were not safe or compassionate solutions to the homelessness issue, and living on the street isn't safe or compassionate. It's a complex problem. I want to add that I had the pleasure of meeting with Alan Graham for several hours at the highly successful Community First Village, and we spoke at solutions on how we might better serve the homeless. It became clear to me that buying hotels and spending millions of taxpayer dollars was not a sustainable model. It is a complex issue, but we need to attack the root cause. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Mackenzie. Thank you. I'm going to move forward to Jennifer Mushtaller. Jennifer, you're mute, so we're going to restart.
There we go. Sorry.
We're going to restart your clock. Thank you.
Austinites are good people. You know, we believe in treating others with compassion, and yes, we can see in this forum how divisive this has become. And that's probably because we didn't lay the groundwork for the solutions, and we didn't provide the opportunity for community input before making such a monumental decision. And this is unleashed in the middle of a pandemic, which obviously they couldn't predict, but it has unleashed a public health issue. And this is going to require a multidisciplinary approach in which we work with proven partners and proven entities to bring the solutions together in a compassionate way. But the open encampments and open homelessness, the way it is now, is not livable for our citizens. I couldn't pick up dinner at the grocery store after working a 12-hour shift taking care of patients. So I would like to bring a multidisciplinary approach to resolve the issue using proven solutions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right. So Jimmy.
Thank you. You know, this is a really challenging problem, and
oh no. Jimmy, we just
I do these video calls like every day for like 10 hours straight. And
you know, it happens. It happens. It's okay. We're gonna restart you, and then everybody's gonna cross their fingers that it goes for the full minute. So let's get going. No worries.
Well, I've spoken to Alan Graham, and Alan Graham has spoken to the media and has praised the council for the work that it's done. The problem with the camping ban is that it criminalizes homelessness when they haven't committed.
Line and move and try again. So Jimmy, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
It crashes and then it comes back. Maybe I'll
Okay.
try and talk calmer.
All right.
I've spoken to Alan Graham. He has spoken out in support of the actions that the council has taken. Criminalizing homelessness only puts non-criminals into the criminal justice system, which makes it that much more difficult for them to get access to housing and services. That's what we've heard from a multidisciplinary system. That's what we've heard from Caritas. That's what we've heard from faith communities. That's what we've heard from Alan Graham. The system we are building was first defined in a 2018 action plan to end homelessness, which predates the changes to homelessness. We have funded, even in this most recent budget, additional services. We have funded housing, but it takes time to build it. And in fact, the pandemic, which, as my opponent said, we could not have predicted, it took staff work away from that to have to address pandemic issues. It probably added another 6 to 9 months delay to get that housing open. We have a system that we've built up. We are working with the Other Ones Foundation to get the folks who are housing insecure their jobs and job training and permanent supportive housing and the rapid rehousing, and all the services are in place. It's just going to take a little time to get there.
Yeah, so I think everybody, we can give a hand clap. You got through that 1 minute, Jimmy. Thank you very much. All right, so I think we still have District 7. Is that not correct? That needs to respond to this topic. Leslie, we're going to start with you.
Great. Well, we had an unforced error last June. We didn't line up the resources and the services we knew we'd need before decriminalizing the camping, no sit, no lie, and solicitation ordinances, but we did go back to repair it in September and October last year. And I was a leader in bringing resources and important system supports to people experiencing homelessness after the camping ban was relaxed. I worked with my Dias colleagues to bring the necessary resources and align our systems to help in more effective and efficient ways. Since then, the council has approved the purchase of hotels for housing, is actively searching for additional structures to buy, has focused more intently on providing permanent supportive housing, activated more organized systems of support with ECHO and other community nonprofit organizations whose civic mission is helping people living without shelter. I'm proud to have been the Dias sponsor of multiple zoning cases to bring permanent supportive housing developments to District 7. PSH developments offer a full array of supportive services to help those who are exiting homelessness to have a safe, clean place to live in a supportive community. Resource-rich wraparound.
All right, Leslie. I know you were trying. all right, Leslie. Okay, so Morgan, are you ready? Yeah, I appreciate it. Morgan, are you ready?
Yeah, so I just want to start by saying that homelessness is not a crime. And I actually see homelessness as a measurement of a community's ability to take care of people when they are vulnerable. And to me, the homelessness situation in Austin, which has been ongoing for a really long time, is just another example of how reactive city leadership is to the problems that we're facing, instead of being proactive in addressing them and preventing people from becoming homeless in the first place. So yes, we need some short-term solutions. We need centralized leadership. We need a director who can coordinate between multiple agencies, organizations, and community leaders to connect people to the support they need and offer wraparound services. But we also need to be thinking about, how do people become homeless in the first place in Austin? And what are we doing to address that? How are we bolstering renters advocacy and providing rental relief and utility relief, and also connecting people to the resources that they need so that they don't end up being homeless in the first place? That's how we can be proactive in addressing this issue.
Thank you, Morgan. I appreciate you staying on time. That was District 7. All right, we are moving right along. We're going to move into our next question, which is related to homelessness, but is on a larger conversation of affordability. And we've talked about that from various points of view, but this is going to be a general question for everyone. Affordability is one of the biggest economic issues facing Austin. Affordability has many facets to it, from housing to transportation, taxes to jobs. Tell us your thoughts on how you will approach the ever-growing affordability crisis as it relates to business operators. We will start with District 10, and we will start with Robert Thomas.
I knew it. I knew it. Thank you. Look, I've been a community leader in this community for 30 years. My wife's family has been here since the 60s. We fundamentally understand Austin. As a community leader and as a commissioner at the Texas Workforce Commission, I worked on the issues necessarily around the state of Texas to get people educated, adult education and literacy, et cetera, to be able to get into the workforce. Working as a board member of the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, I worked on affordability issues across the state. Under no circumstances is the city council doing anything to make Austin more affordable. In fact, it seems year after year, election after election, we hear the lip service to affordability, including out of the current District 10 council member, but I don't see the commitment. What did it take? Why did it take a citizen petition to put an audit on the ballot? And then why did this council work so hard to make it difficult to understand what that ballot language was? At the end of the day, if we make Austin affordable, it's good for small business. Good for small business, it's good for the workers. As a community leader, we're not better off today.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that very much. Pooja, I'm going to ask for you to go next.
I knew it. Making Austin more affordable is definitely a priority for me and something I speak about quite often. On Austin City Council, I would support increasing our housing density in collaboration with existing communities to make the city more affordable. Without an increase in housing options and housing overall, Austin won't be able to sustain its growth. We have a recent study that found that Austin is the least livable city for minimum wage workers. And by having a housing plan and no affordable housing, we're not helping our business owners either for employees. I support the creation of an anti-displacement office to keep people here. And I also support development options that provide affordability without displacing our Austin families. I would push even further for units that are affordable to households making under 60% MFI. We need more multifamily mixed-use housing with access to transportation to support our low and middle income households in Austin. And we need to move towards providing resources equitably across our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Belinda, we're going to go to you next. Are you ready? Hold on, Belinda. We're going to ask you to come off mute and then we're going to restart your clock.
This all week with my pod of third graders and somehow I've lost all my technology skills.
It happens to everyone. We'll start your clock right now. There you go.
So yes, City Council has run on this agenda for years and has done little to nothing about the affordability in Austin. The fact that they would even consider a proposed tax increase of 24% when so many Austinites are not even working just shows how disconnected from the community they are. I spoke to a restaurateur this week actually, and obviously the COVID situation is his primary focus, but the second thing is taxes. He is being taxed out of his business, especially during this time. So I think that would be first and foremost to really get a grasp on that. And then I would also increase our homestead tax exemption from the 8% that is city council, I'm sorry, the 10% city council currently has up to the 20% that is allowed by Texas law. That would save all of us on our property taxes if we were to take advantage of that while we could.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Belinda. Allison.
So for our small businesses, we need to finish what we started in addressing our permitting process. I have invested in large increases in staff and the creation of small ombudsman people. You shouldn't need to have a lobbyist to be able to get your permits. And we need to have a code that's simple enough that you don't need a lobbyist. I have in the past successfully supported increases to the homestead and the senior exemption. I want to also talk about what we're doing right now because we have to stabilize our economy and move to recovery. I've mentioned before the financial relief to small businesses, nonprofits, and childcare centers, and the creative sector. Also really strongly focused on workforce development, just sponsored the Make It Pay Workforce Solutions program. I also chair the Audit and Finance Committee, and I'm focused on ways to make our city more efficient and effective, whether it's project management or the procurement code or making sure that our pensions are stable.
Thank you. I'm going to move to District 7 now, District 7, and I'm going to get started this time around with Leslie Poole.
I'm the vice chair of the Audit and Finance Committee, and on that committee, we're working with the city auditor to craft the audit plan for next year. My staff and I have identified several areas that need intensive review, including the city's Amanda permit record keeping system that my colleague Allison Alter mentioned. It's used by over 11 departments as well as by the public. It's outdated, it's inefficient, it's burdensome, it causes undue delays and confusion for city employees and residents and businesses too. And so we need to improve it or replace the system, although this may be invisible to many out there in the public, but it'll go a long way to easing a time and cost burden for small businesses with our programs and permitting. And then one other thing, earlier this spring, I brought a community resilience initiative to the council to address longstanding disparities and build community strength in the face of adversity. And that was in recognition of small community businesses who are disproportionately impacted during COVID-19. The effort was adopted unanimously.
Thank you. Morgan.
Yeah, so to be a little bit repetitive, I want to talk again about the interconnectedness of affordable housing and transportation. And when we talk about that, it's not just the ability for small business owners to come to Austin and be able to live here and start a business, but also how can we change our land use code to allow small businesses to exist in the neighborhoods that they serve? I've lived in and traveled to cities around the world that have these places built into their neighborhoods, and it gives them better access to the residents that they want to do business with. But we also need to simplify processes. In my conversations with small business owners in District 7, they say that the process is not simple, it's not cheap, it's not fast, and there are so many obstacles that it's disenchanting and discouraging. We definitely need to conduct further audit of that as well. And we also need to incentivize these businesses so that they can, yeah, okay, I'll just stop. Sorry, I don't want to be rude.
Thank you. It's important. All right. So thank you very much, District 7. We are going to move to District 6. And Jimmy, we're going to start with you, and we're going to see how your Zoom connection goes. All right. Are we ready?
Sure. Well, affordability, as the question says, it has multiple areas. We've already talked about taxes and how I've been the loudest voice for that. I also serve on the Audit and Finance Committee, and we've initiated multiple audits on multiple areas of city government. The costs of transportation are not as obvious because it's a lot of state money that comes into these state roads. And when you talk about affordability, you also got to talk about the income side and chairing the Regional Economic Development Board and pushing for job growth. These are important elements of ensuring that the community has a healthy economy in which to thrive. There are issues with saying that we want more police, or we want more fire, we want more EMS, we want more roads, we want more parks, we want more libraries, and we're also going to cut taxes. That's just not how any of this works. You have to be able to talk specifically about what you're going to do. I have led on curtailing the rising cost of government by fighting on police and fire contracts. We've saved tens of millions of dollars. I have led on public-private partnerships that help get the most out of our money and transfer the risks of growth over to private property developers and more.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Thank you. As a small business owner, I was leasing 1,400 square feet of medical space to run my business practice, and the rent was $10,000 a month. Those were the first bar in covering rent costs to cover my overhead. So I'm very familiar with the issues as it pertains to small business. Affordability touches two sides, right? It touches the property owners and business owners, and it touches the housing issue. And so there is a lot involved in this. I think we have a number of tools in our toolbox to help work on these issues. We could use strike funds. We could use community-based land trust. As we develop areas, we can use mixed development opportunities to give better opportunity for a variety of housing and for businesses to come in. I think we need to do it in a way that provides for permanency of our neighborhoods and our residents. And we need to streamline permitting to reduce costs and get rid of waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mackenzie, are you ready?
Thank you very much. At this point, the lengthy and costly process for permitting for small businesses in Austin has become so convoluted and littered with hurdles. I'm hearing from small business owners that it's hard for anyone to start a business here. The code should be simple enough for business owners that they don't have to require to get somebody like a lobbyist to get a permit pulled for construction. It's both costly and timely for business owners. The proposed plans that the City Council has to increase taxes to the point that our small businesses won't be able to continue and our residents won't be able to live here. A lot of small businesses have closed due to COVID, and with COVID closures, we're facing a completely different landscape of business to the point where Austin will no longer be affordable, and we're going to lose our iconic small businesses that built their foundation here. Additionally, I pledge to stop the campaign to take funding away from our police, which will in the long term end up costing business owners due to decreased safety, increased crime, and a downturn in tourism dollars to our city. We have to support small business owners in a critical and unprecedented time like this. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Hopefully you're ready for our next question. Being that this is a combined event with all of the minority chambers represented, what are your views on equity versus equality? And where do you believe the city can have a significant impact on diversity? I think we will start with District 7. And I'll ask Morgan for you to kick us off first.
Yeah, so equality is giving everybody the same access to opportunity, but it assumes that everybody is starting in the same place. And the reality is that that just isn't true. And in my experience with education, we call equitable education differentiated instruction, which means reaching every individual student with the resources, support, and educational experience that they need to thrive in that setting. So that's what we as a city need to do. And that equity is the underpinning of everything that we're talking about here. Homelessness, affordability and housing, transit, access to economic opportunity, all of these things that we've been talking about, that's how we achieve equity. And we also need to be thinking about environmental sustainability. What are we doing to make reparations for our history in inequitable distribution of park space and green space, tree cover? Just to be repetitive one more time, those are the things that we need to be focusing on.
Thank you, Morgan. Leslie.
Well, our nation was built by the vision and labor of immigrants, and we're a pluralistic society, so our strength springs from our diversity. I'm proud to report that my District 7 staff, as far as diversity, is 100% women, ranging in age from their 20s to their 50s, not counting me, and in work experience from a new university graduate to a woman who's decades deep into a career. In the 5 years I've been a council member, my aides have identified in various ways, LGBTQIA+, African American, Asian American, all have been deeply dedicated to public service. And one of my goals as a council member is to offer opportunities for students in particular. They get firsthand experience working in the office of an elected official, and it can really change a life.
Thank you, Leslie. I meant to ask a follow-up question for you, so I'm going to do it now, both to you, Morgan, and then Leslie. So Morgan, just circling back real quick as a follow-up, would you support adding certified LGBT business enterprises to the city's hub program for procurement? Morgan?
Short answer, yes.
Thank you. Leslie?
Of course, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to ask everybody, I'm going to restate again that question 5 is, being this is a combined event with all minority chambers represented, what are your views on equity versus equality? Where do you believe the city can have a significant impact on diversity? And would you also include the follow-up question, would you support adding certified LGBT business enterprises to the city's hubs program for procurement? So if you can please include that in your messaging when you respond. I am going to jump to District 6. And I'm going to start with Mackenzie.
Sorry, I had to unmute there. So I would say that we need to improve equity across all of Austin in order to have equality take place. I think it's important that we support everybody. And one way that we can really do that is to support low-income individuals who are disproportionately victims of crime. It was appalling to me when the city council took funding away from the police department, because my immediate reaction was that those that live in less wealthy neighborhoods, they're going to be affected mostly by increased response times due to lack of patrol officers available. At a time when our police force in 2020 is back down to where we were in 2015, it sickens me to know that less fortunate will be affected. For the follow-up question, I would support the LGBTQIA community by being added to the City Hub program for growth development. It's important to be inclusive of everyone. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Jimmy.
You know, the difference between equity and equality is really important. You know, equality is the way we used to do it, and everyone's supposed to get the same thing. But when you talk about equity, you're talking about addressing historical issues and historical disparities that have come to bear and resulted in disparate outcomes. And that is what I focus on in all the work that I do at the city, is ensuring that we are addressing the gaps, and we are addressing the gaps that are a result of the gaps. That is most often talked about in terms of infrastructure, but it's also about economic opportunity. I'm a former president of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and so I've been doing this work even since before I was a council member. I support the city's continued investment in the MECA chambers, the Multi-Ethnic Chamber Alliance, to ensure that our small business owners across all diversities are getting access. And I'm thankful to their support of the small business grant program I created in getting those dollars out to a wide, diverse set of businesses. I have also been working on and helped develop the LGBT Business Enterprise Program at the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce way back in the early 2000s when it was created.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Jennifer.
Thank you very much. My patients and my staff represent a diverse group of multilingual, multiracial people, as well as persons who identify as lesbian or transgender. I believe that leadership on equity and equality come from the top down. So I've tried to do that both in my hiring practices and in how I treat my patients. And that's what I'll bring to City Hall. I also believe that an important piece of equity and equality is by making sure that we have access to good paying jobs and a variety of jobs. And those jobs need to provide for time off, paid time off, and for healthcare benefits. As a small business owner, I am very proud to say that I always offer that to my employees, and I consider that a critical piece to building on equity and equality for all of our communities.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to District 10, and we're going to start with Allison Alter.
Thank you. I think Jimmy really defined equality and equity really well. So I will just say that I support policies to increase equity in Austin and that all residents deserve a fair chance and equitable treatment. I see diversity as a strength and an asset to any community. And as the municipal government, our city has a unique opportunity to affect change. We can do that by leveraging the resources and support of a large group of partner groups in the community, including the several chambers that are hosting this event today. We share goals of having a strong, vibrant, and diverse city, and we can partner in many, many different ways. We also have to have welcoming and inclusive public spaces, and we've done that with the recent creation of our central library and on our way to do that with the Waterloo Greenway. Internally, we need to expand our efforts to recruit a city staff that reflects the community that we serve. I employ a very diverse team on my own staff. I have 4 full-time staff members that are people of color and LGBTQ. I've co-sponsored resolutions and worked with business leaders and the small and minority.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just say that, yes, I support the hub.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. All right, we're going to move forward. Belinda, are you ready? You're going to be next for this question.
Hi, I'm ready. So the community I work in the restaurant industry, it is a very diverse community. I think that our city council and our city in general should be equally diverse. It should represent the community. It should be diverse, gender, age, sexual orientation, race, but also political views. Our current city government has one political view, and it's so extreme, it's hard for our diverse community itself to relate to. I think by talking to different members of our community, we can be more active and bring more diversity to our local government. And yes, I would support the hub question with including LGBTQ.
Thank you so much, Belinda. Pooja.
So I am proud to have worked on the Mayor's Task Force on of Racism and Systemic Inequities and have pushed for policies around equity repeatedly as part of the Greater Austin Asian Chamber of Commerce. Equality provides everyone the same resources, and equity distributes resources based on recipients' needs. Through my own work, I've seen that this city at many levels is not equitable. For example, when awarding grants to our small businesses in Austin, we need to improve outreach efforts to engage every single community to ensure that the process is transparent and fair. Additionally, we should work towards awarding grants in a way that reflects our population of Austin as a whole. We need to increase our diversity on our local boards, commissions, and task forces to get more community input. And as a city commissioner on the Asian Commission, I have shared opportunities with diverse communities to increase representation and recruit members of diverse communities to engage with our government, and I would continue to do so on council. I would also support the Hub program and also push for data of our LGBT businesses that are getting grants onto our website as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Robert?
Great, thank you. I think that Pooja did an outstanding job of highlighting two critical areas. The first is the lack of diversity in the city itself. To talk about diversity of your staff, but to have said on the dais and not pushed for diversity throughout the bureaucracy is hypocritical. Moreover, the Hub program is the single greatest way that a city can increase opportunity, both from an equality and an equity standpoint, for its minority contractors. I have worked with the Austin Independent School District and formulated a plan that finally resulted in a Hub program being adopted there. The reality is there is no commitment by Austin city government. There's a lot of talking, but there's no commitment to truly make sure that the Hub program works the way it should work, the effort that it takes to make sure it works, and to make sure that our city government looks like all of Austin. Equity and quality are not buzzwords, and I'm tired of hearing people use them that way.
Thank you. Wow, this has been very exciting. I appreciate everyone's diligence and answers to our questions. As we mentioned at the beginning of our forum, we are now concluded all of our questions. And so we had stated that each of you would have an opportunity to do a 1-minute closing remark. And this is your opportunity to leave your final perspective on what you're representing or on any topic area that we might not have covered that you wanted to cover. As a reminder for anyone that's joining in late and for anyone at all that's joining in right now, you can read about our candidates. You can review their Q&A and you can rewatch this forum by going and visiting www.keepaustinvoting.com. Again, that's www.keepaustinvoting.com. And I encourage you to go out there and read about our candidates and read the Q&A that they have posted. As I noted earlier in the call, right, I will call on each of you. You will have a turn to announce, and I will then call on the next person. You'll have 1 minute, just like you've had throughout this entire forum. I just want to say, everyone, thank you for adhering to the time allocations. You kept us on target. You allowed us to get through all of our questions. We really appreciate that. We really wanted everyone to hear what you had to say, and you allowed everyone that opportunity. That is much appreciated. Again, I just want to say thank you for your courage to run, because that takes a lot of courage these days. That's a major commitment to our city. And I can tell you, as a citizen, I really appreciate that. This is important to me. My city is important to me. I'm a born and raised Austinite. Yes, I'm a born and raised Austinite. And so showing that commitment, that dedication is very important to all of us. So I just want to say thank you to each of you for representing who you are and representing your platform. Just so that everyone can be prepared a little bit ahead of time, we're just going to go in the order that we started right at the very beginning. We're going to start with District 6, we're going to move to District 7, and then we're going to move to District 10. Just for everyone, just because I think it would be helpful to everyone to kind of know and not be caught by surprise in this last 1 minute that you have. For District 6, we will start with Jimmy, then we'll move to Mackenzie, and then we'll move to Jennifer. For District 7, we'll start with Leslie, then we'll move to Morgan. And then for District 10, we're going to start with Allison, we'll move to Belinda, to Pooja, and we'll end with you, Robert. So I'll just ask everybody, I will remind you, I'll still calling your names, but that just kind of helps you as you're preparing not to be caught off guard, and you can be ready to have your 1 minute. Again, thank you again for your service. It is greatly appreciated. All right, District 6. So everybody listening in, this is District 6. Pay attention to their closing remarks. This is very important. Jimmy, you're on stage.
Zoom crashed just a second ago, so we're back. Thanks, everybody. Thank you to the chambers for coming together and holding this forum. I'm really glad to see y'all doing that. You know, my background as a chamber leader, as a small business owner, and a community organizer has really led to results for District 6 and for the city. I've implemented solutions, especially on transportation, all across District 6, and I have the support and the endorsement of the leaders and the partners you need to get it done. I'm the only endorsed Democrat in this race. I have the support and endorsement of 5 of our overlapping House members, Central Labor Council, the EMS Association. This is the type of work that you need to actually get stuff done in this city. And I have the trust of my colleagues on the council to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee, to be the chair of the Regional Economic Development Board, to be the chair of the Community Advancement Network, working on the public health system in this community. We have made significant investments, and I have been the loudest and strongest voice for fiscal responsibility. And that is why I believe I have earned the vote of District 6, and to continue this work to make Austin not just the greatest city, but to keep it the safest major city and the most successful in America.
Thank you, Jimmy. And we're very excited. Your Zoom made it through all of that. All right, Mackenzie, are you ready?
Thank you so much for having me on today and inviting me to this. As a born and raised Austinite mother with parents and siblings that live in District 6 with me, I'm committed to making our city thrive. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and do the work needed to turn this city around. I'm committed to keeping the city a place that's not only safe for families and children, but to keep it growing in a direction we can be proud to call home for all. It's important to take care of the everyday people in our city. I want to listen and hear your stories, the stories that will create positive change in Austin. I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve you. Please reach out to me via social media or on my website if you want to talk. My website is mackenziefораustin.com. I look forward to hearing from you. While I have endorsements, the most important endorsement I'm looking for is from you, the voter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Jennifer, are you ready?
I am. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Jennifer Mushtaller for District 6, Austin City Council. This is a very critical time for us. This is a time for scientific pragmatism and medical leadership. And it's something we don't have on the dais right now, and we need it, and I'll bring it. I have a tech background. I have a small business background. I understand the importance of both large companies and the small businesses to make our city flourish. At the end of this, 3 of us will be sitting on the dais, and I pledge as a councilwoman that I will treat whoever is up there with me with respect. I will treat my fellow constituents and the city staff in a respectful manner befitting of the public office. I believe that we need to be prepared for all contingency plans and consider all possibilities. And for those of you who've had the opportunity to speak with me at length, I think you already know I'm listening, I hear you, and I can take these ideas forward. I hope to earn your vote on November 3rd. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So thanks to all of our District 6 candidates. Good luck to each and every one of you. District 7, we will start with Leslie Poole.
Thanks so much. It's a significant honor and responsibility to serve as a council member. From the small business and chamber perspective, I'm committed to assisting our business community with job creation and affordability in both big and small ways. More than $40 million was included in the fiscal 21 budget for workforce development. I continue to bring initiatives and advocate for revamping commercial entitlements specific to the North Burnett Gateway area, which is District 7's largest job center and Austin's second downtown. I initiated funding for 2 rail stations to support the area, one near the Domain and the Uptown ATX development, and another for the soccer stadium at McCalla. Both of these efforts will make business more viable and transportation more affordable and more efficient for employees and customers in the Gateway area. We've got a lot ahead of us. If we lean on one another, I'm hopeful that our county, our country, and our city will soon be back on track financially, economically, and socially. My deep appreciation to all the chambers assembled here today for your involvement. And
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. Morgan Witt.
I'm a born and raised Austinite, just like Tamara. I've worked in the service industry. I've worked in tech. I've worked in education. I've spent many nights in the live music scene. And I just want to reiterate one more time that every issue we talked about today is something Austin has struggled with for years, sometimes decades. We're still the most economically segregated city. Our traffic still sucks. We have a housing code that's older than I am. We still have a homelessness crisis, and our music and entertainment venues are closing. Incremental change and inaction, everything that we've been doing, the status quo, isn't going to work to fix these problems. What we actually need are comprehensive solutions from bold leaders who are going to bring the community together to solve these issues and make Austin more equitable and more inclusive for every single person who lives here.
Thank you, District 7. We are now transitioning to District 10. Allison is going to kick us off for District 10.
So I want to thank all the chambers for hosting this event and all the viewers for being engaged. My name is Allison Alter, and I'm a leader with a proven track record of accomplishment. I've never craved the spotlight. I was recruited to run and chose to stand for election because I wanted to serve my community and knew that I could do a good job. I'm endorsed by Congressman Lloyd Doggett, EMS, and many chamber leaders, just to name a few. I am a pragmatic problem solver who believes it's important to keep an open mind, to listen to new ideas and different perspectives. I am not driven by ideology, and I look for long-term solutions rather than short-run political wins. I ask tough questions, and I'm willing to take difficult votes. I know how to stand my ground and find common ground. My relationships and experience best position me to be a voice for my district while also addressing citywide needs. I am a Democrat in a nonpartisan seat, and I've worked hard to represent all of my constituents. I understand the impact of city actions or inaction on businesses and residents' lives, and I have the policy skill, knowledge, and experience to shape effective policy across these many issues.
Thank you, Allison. Belinda, we are transitioning to you.
Hi, I'm Belinda Green. I'm not a politician. I'm a working mom that wants to make a difference in the community I love so much. I may not be the unicorn Austinite, but I am a Texan, and I want to stay in Austin. I've chose to put our roots down in here, even though we have considered moving because of the taxes have made it so unaffordable. We are choosing to stay here, and I want to make a difference. And I want everyone to know that there are voices in Austin that are not extreme. I offer a reasonable voice. I will listen to all sides and make a choice on what's best for our community, lowering taxes to make it affordable. We all love the free spirits and the diversity of the community, but the homeless problem, the increased taxes, the irresponsible budget policies have eroded the community and made it a difficult place to live. Let's do something about it. Let's change it.
Thank you, Belinda. I appreciate that so much. Pooja, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you all for having me here as a small business owner and chamber member. I truly know that small businesses are the backbone of our community. I am also endorsed by several organizations, but most importantly, I have a demonstrated history of how to balance my point of view with the needs of the residents of my districts and the needs of the city as a whole. I want District 10 to be part of all policies that get passed. I know what it means to meet with our residents, bring voices to the table that have never been heard, and truly represent our district in Austin the way that it needs to be represented. I would discuss potential votes with constituents before I take them, come back and explain why I voted the way I did to the district. If on council, I would also implement a District 10 advisory council that includes our local District 10 business owners and families, have monthly town halls in the district, and figure out how we can come to solutions together. You can find out more about me at pujaforoustin.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pooja. And Robert, you are last but not least. So we thank you for bringing us home as our final candidate for D District 10.
Thank you so much. So thank you all, Chambers. This was a phenomenal event. And thank you, fellow candidates, for being willing to run, those both who are incumbents as well as the challengers. Look, the reality is across the city, but especially across District 10, I ask people, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the overwhelming response is a resounding no. We have increased crime, decreased affordability, and we have a homeless problem that has absolutely skyrocketed, jeopardizing the health and safety of everyone, including the homeless. The reality is, I didn't seek this. I got recruited. I got recruited across the spectrum by people who felt that our council member, Allison Alter, had fundamentally not represented the interest of the district. She can talk about her accomplishments. She can talk about her partisanship, but that's exactly what's gotten us where we are. We created district-based seats in order to represent the districts on the council. That hasn't happened. If you're ready for a change, if you're ready for real common sense and good government, www.robertatx.com. Vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I just want to say thanks again to the Austin LGBT Chamber, to the Black Chamber, to the Austin Asian Chamber, to the Hispanic Chamber, to the Young Chambers, and to the Greater Austin Chamber for hosting and for your steadfast support of businesses and the Austin economy. Please visit www.keepaustinvoting.com for the rebroadcast. So again, if you are unable to dial in, you can dial in as part of that process. If you felt you missed something, go right back to this website. Again, you'll be able to see the summaries of our candidates, their Q&A. That's going to be really important. And for any other voting resources that are out there, it's a one-stop location for you. Again, we thank everyone for your participation. I want to say thanks for allowing me to host. And we just hope that everyone stays safe in Austin. And we hope everybody votes in Austin and informed voting. And so thanks again to everyone for your support. Again, much thanks to all of these candidates. They were extremely impressive. I appreciate your willingness and your commitment to our city and keep Austin weird, keep Austin safe. And thanks to everybody again. And we hope to see you at the voting booths.